is to the distinguished gentlelady from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I rise in strong opposition to the Child Deportation Act. This effort will rip apart families, dismantle due process, and expose children to abuse and trafficking. This bill goes further than simply demolishing legal pathways that the President has put in place. It strips back critical safeguards that protect the safety and well-being of unaccompanied minors. Instead of getting their day in court, this bill would imprison kids for up to 30 days. Instead of reunifying children with family who are here legally, this bill would deliver them to traffickers and other bad actors. And instead of providing care and counsel to children, this bill would weaken child welfare standards and reduce vetting of sponsors, leaving them vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. This legislation makes a mockery of our nation's values to appeal to our nation's worst impulses. Mr. Speaker, this effort to block access to asylum will fuel criminal traffickers that extort desperate migrants. To make it all very simple, this bill will plunge our border into chaos. And that is exactly what my Republican colleagues want. They demonize immigrants, they lock up kids, and they defund border security just so they can blame Democrats for the crisis that they manufacture. Let me just give you an example of the Homestead Migrant Children Detention Center that existed in Homestead, Florida, back in 2019 in the previous administration. This was a facility that warehoused unaccompanied minors. The conditions were so challenging, and the kids crammed so tightly together under conditions where they were forced to literally have very little space between one another and be imprisoned, essentially, in this detention center that eventually it was forced to shut down. When President Biden took action to allow Venezuelan, Cuban, and Haitian migrants to apply for humanitarian parole, reducing border encounters from these countries by over 90%, Republican attorneys general filed a lawsuit to stop him. My Republican colleagues trumpet the need for oversight, but when I introduced legislation to prohibit child detention centers from refusing access to members to conduct that oversight, deafening silence. They scold Democrats on enforcement, yet promise to slash border funding to pre-pandemic levels, leaving border officers without vital resources to combat fentanyl and human trafficking. The only thing this bill will actually secure is the chokehold grip that MAGA extremists have on the Republican Party. I urge my colleagues to reject this legislation. It would brutally harm children for the sake of cheap political points. Our border should be governed by laws upholding our humanity, not by demagogues promoting bigotry. Thank you. I yield back the balance of my time.